17 minutes after 3 o'clock on this Tuesday afternoon. Welcome back into the Postgame Show along with Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Appreciate you being with us. And as promised, we are joined on the guest line by the head football coach at the University of South Carolina. He is Shane Beamer. We always appreciate his time. Whether he appreciates what he's getting ready to do, we'll find out in about 15 minutes or so. How are you, sir? Good to have you back.
It's great to be back. I always appreciate what I get to do when I jump on the phone with you guys. So thanks for having me on as always.
I know you listen a lot. Did you get to listen yesterday when Coach Maneri, in the most polite way possible, almost got mad at me?
No, I did not.
Yeah. I asked him about the Clemson series.
That.
Yeah, I asked him about the Clemson series before.
You better not. We got a game before that.
I know, and I didn't ask him about the games. I was trying to just talk about the rivalry, but he didn't want to go.
That's
there,
like a team rule. You broke it, man.
Yeah, he didn't want to go there. So that's a good thing for football.
You can say he's consistent. I get that. There'll be plenty of time to talk about this weekend. Let's get through who we got. Gardner Webb.
Gardner Webb tonight. Yeah, Gardner Webb tonight at 6.
Let's get through Gardner Webb, and then we'll turn our focus to it.
That's right. You were in New Orleans last week for the SEC meetings. I guess y'all had some standalone stuff, and then there were joint meetings with the Big Ten. I'm curious, sort of an A and a B. What were your expectations going in? How much of the agenda did you know, and what are your thoughts as you come out of those last week?
Yeah, I thought it was a really beneficial trip. We as head coaches in the SEC, we always meet in person in the month of February, and it's always been in Birmingham, and it's always been just the head coaches meeting with Commissioner Sankey and some of the other, higher-ups in the SEC office. And then last year when we were in Destin for league meetings in May, they came to us and said we'd like to do a meeting in New Orleans after the season that also involves the athletic directors, because it's important. Sometimes we as head coaches, we sit in a room and we come up with all these great ideas and thoughts, but the athletic directors and the presidents, who are the decision makers, they're not in there with us. So Commissioner Sankey, and I'm glad he did, felt it would be beneficial for all of us to be in a room together. So we, Jeremiah Donati, our athletic director, and I, we flew down there the Sunday afternoon after the women's basketball game against Connecticut, and that night, head coaches had a meeting, just us and Commissioner Sankey, and then we did a dinner with the athletic directors, very relaxed, and was able to socialize with those guys and ladies. And then the next day was a full day of meetings where we just went in a room, and it was every head football coach in the SEC and every athletic director in the SEC, along with people from the SEC office, and spent from 8 a.m. until the end of the day, 4 o'clock or whatnot, just talking about every issue you can imagine, from transfer portal to NIL to revenue sharing to future scheduling to officiating, recruiting calendar, you name it. We talked about it, and I thought it was really beneficial and good to hear kind of where the ADs are coming from on stuff. I think they would say it's good to hear where we're coming from, and we're all trying to accomplish the same thing, and that's just continuing to make this game better.
Greg Sankey did say last week that positions change when it comes to scheduling a 9th game in conference play. I sent you our poll question from last week, Shane, and I loved your answer back that you basically said if everybody's doing it, sure. And that is, for Carolina, and obviously Georgia, Florida, Kentucky are in the same boat with Carolina, with an ACC opponent every year that isn't going to be leaving the schedule without, complete unrest within the state. But are we closer to something like that? How much different do you think the coaching fraternity within the SEC feels about a 9th conference game?
I thought that was a discussion that we had in New Orleans that probably got more, what's the word I'm looking for, more people injecting their opinion into that, ADs and coaches, and maybe any other topic that we talked about. I think there's a lot of people in that room that have strong opinions in regards to the scheduling, and there's certainly a lot of questions. What does the future of the college football playoff look like? Does it stay at 12 teams? Does it go to 16 teams? What does the SEC championship game look like? And there were a lot of things that were brought up and discussed, and as coaches, I think we understand why there's a push for a 9th conference game. I think some athletic directors certainly, were on board with that, and frankly, some weren't. on board with going to a ninth game, and I think you could say the same thing for coaches. So it was a healthy discussion. There's no question about it. But again, like I told you, and I think everybody would feel the same way, if we're playing 9 conference games plus Clemson, plus another, I know we have Miami on the schedule next year. We have Virginia Tech this upcoming season. If we're doing that and the other teams in this league aren't, then that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
But if we're all playing, 9 conference games plus 2 other Power 4 games, and sure, come on, we're competitors and bring it on. I just want to make sure that we're all in the same boat too, because if not, you're not doing what's best for your program.
Yeah, kind of in that same field there. I mean, Jay and I have had way too much hanging out in fantasy land hypotheticals with, the SEC Big Ten Challenge, or at least some type of SEC Big Ten agreement where we're able to see these 2 conferences that really hold most of the bargaining power in the sport, have at least a weekend or 2 spaced out, whatever way you want to do it, where at least one school from each conference plays each other. Is that something that would interest you or be good for the sport, or is that kind of, Fantasyland hypothetical that Jay and I will be occupying for a while?
No, that was something that we, discussed. I asked that question specifically myself to Commissioner Sankey, because I had read one of the articles about that being a potential thing. And I think that's something that we'll continue to look at going down the road. There's no question about it. I think our fans would like it. And look, I want to – Williams-Brice Stadium is an amazing environment, and it doesn't matter who we're playing, whether it be Clemson or, this year when Wofford came to town, it was great. Last year when Furman came to town, it was great. So we know it's going to be an amazing environment in Williams-Brice Stadium no matter who we're playing, but certainly for our fans, they want to see us play games like that. They want to see teams like Miami come to Columbia next year, or a Big Ten team come to Columbia every year, every other year. So I'm certainly in favor of it as well. And again, as long as that's something that everybody else is doing, plus every other team is playing not just 9 conference games, a Big Ten team, and then 2 money games. Let's make sure it's right for everybody as well. And then the other question, too, is trying to get some answers on what does the selection criteria look like for the college football playoff going forward, because that's great. We bring marquee matchups into Williams-Brice Stadium, but if strength of schedule is not going to matter, which it clearly didn't this year, then you also need to look at, are we doing what's best for our program and giving our team the best chance to compete for championships.
Gamecock football coach Shane Beamer with us here on the postgame show. Let's shift our attention to the draft, the combine this week, and I'm going to ask you a long question. You can give me a long answer. You've got a lot of names that are in position to be picked. That's not uncommon for South Carolina, obviously, but when I look at guys like Nick Emenwari, who's homegrown, or what Demetrius Knight did while he was here and getting better, Josh Simon while he was here as a transfer, getting better, Kyle Kennard getting better. You're showing people, A, we can put you in the league, and B, we can develop you if you're somebody who's not necessarily the most heralded recruit. So what is this week like for you? And then, you're trying to fill those holes as well, I know, Shane, but this is a different kind of draft for Carolina football in my estimation because of how well you've developed so many of these guys.
Yeah, no, it's really cool, and I appreciate you saying that. One, credit to them and the way that they worked when they were here, but certainly we're really, really proud of what our guys have accomplished, and that you've gone into some weekends of the NFL draft in the last few years since I've been back here as the head coach where all right, you may have 3 or 4 get drafted, but you're probably not going to have anybody get drafted until, maybe Saturday, and we'll see what happens. Or last year when Xavier Legette went in the first round. But it was a great thing, but to have 11 guys at the NFL Combine and then some other ones that aren't at the Combine that are going to get an opportunity with an NFL team, that's what it's all about. And that's why I love college coaching, is to be able to, bring bring young men into your program, watch them develop on and off the field, see them get their degree, then have a chance to go chase their dreams in the NFL. I mean, just today, Jay, walked in the training room, and there was Xavier Leggett down in the training room just visiting with the trainers and getting some treatment. And, being able to have him come back after he did what he did. Here's a guy from the state of South Carolina that came here out of high school and accomplished his dreams. Or literally right before while I was on hold waiting to go on, Marcellus Dials back in town, and he just popped in my office. And to be able to see a young man like that from South Carolina that went the junior college route but came back here, developed, and just had a great season with the New England Patriots. And to have so many other young men that are going to be able to do that this year, whether they came here out of high school and developed, guys like TJ Sanders and Tonka and Boogie, or guys that just were here for 1 year, whether it be Kyle Kennard, Rocket, D Knight, those guys like that. You're just so happy for all of them, and proud that we were able to help them achieve their dreams and chase their dreams here.
Not to sound like a talking calendar here, but it's February 25, 2025. You're coming off a 9-3 season. February 25th, 2024, you're coming off a 5-7 season and a new look SEC and a schedule that was daunting the minute it came out. What's February of 2025 like for Shane Beamer compared to what February of 2024 was like for Shane Beamer?
I think, honestly, very similar. Obviously, let's be real, it's different when you just won 9 and as opposed to 5. It's a different feeling, but at the same time, the hunger is still the same, and the drive to make 2025 even better than 2024 is as strong as ever. And that's one thing that we've talked about as a team this year is, we did some really good stuff in 24, but by no means are we satisfied. And our whole thing is taking this thing even farther in 25 than what we did in 24, and making sure our guys understand the work that went into 2024, and it didn't just happen. There was a lot of work and intentional moments to make that happen, and that's what we've got to be doing this year as well, and we're hard at work at that. We're last year at this time, February 2024, I knew we had a lot of leadership on our team. We had a lot of experience coming back on our team. We had an old football team. February 25 is a lot different because we're talented. There's no question about it, but we are really, really, really young. And that leadership that we had last year, so many of those guys, they're now gone. And the key for us right now is developing leadership and working really, really hard. Who are the leaders on this team? And last year you knew that, Debo Williams and Boogie Huntley and those guys and D Knight as he came on and Torricelli Simpkins and on and on and on, that those guys, they had a voice and guys were going to follow them. And we got guys like that right now, but it's just different. So it's a little bit certainly different from that standpoint, but a lot of similarities too. You're never satisfied, and by no means are we walking around the building looking at the trophies of games that we won last year or patting ourselves on the back about what we did. There's a great hunger to be even better in 2025.
Kind of continuing with Elijah's question, Lenoris is on everybody's Heisman watch list, and it's legit. It's not some kind of pipe dream thing right now. To the same kind of thing, how different is that from the promise that you guys knew he showed when he was Spencer's backup to what he's done last year, and that progression? What's it like now? Like, dang, I mean, you were in Blacksburg when Michael Vick was doing his thing. I'm not trying to compare them directly, but there was a lot of hype.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, you talk about, here's a guy that last year at this time nobody really was talking about, and if you looked at some of those preseason rankings of quarterbacks, most of them I think had him probably 16th in the league going into last season a year ago at this time, and now it's the complete opposite. So the great news is he's such a great young man. He's got a great humility about himself. He's very hungry and driven to work and get better, and he doesn't let that go to his head. But certainly it's something that's different because of the attention that's on him nationally, and his life has certainly changed in the last year, just in regards to, how recognizable he is and what he's accomplished. And he's got a great family and a support group around him for sure. But, somebody was in my office literally before I jumped on the phone with you guys, and we were talking about the upcoming team, and I said, I'm excited because anytime you have a quarterback, you got a chance to be successful, and we certainly have a quarterback in him. And the great news is, Jay, I mean, you guys know this, y'all follow us extremely closely, obviously, is he's just scratching the surface, and he continued to get better as the season went on last season, and he's just going to continue to get better throughout the offseason into 25. I really like, the relationship that he and Mike Shula, our new offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, have, and the way that they've been working, and really, fired up to see what's next for Lenoris and how he continues to grow as a quarterback and football player.
All right, last couple of things, quick hits here for you. We got a hit on Twitter from Albert, and I'm going to agree with Albert on this. Can we, but that'll be y'all, all right, because I don't play. Can y'all wear the George Rogers, Jim Carlin throwbacks more often or all the time?
Yeah, you sound like my son. He literally had this same conversation with me last night, Hunter, my 11-year-old, that he's like, make sure we wear these again in 2025, Dad. And I think he speaks for a lot of people, and I like them as well. So
as the kids say, Shane, they are sick. And that's a good thing, apparently.
They
are.
Yes. Yeah. Positive connotation.
No, they are. Every time I see it, I was just watching some video this afternoon of some of our games from last season, and I was watching the Akron game, I believe we wore those, and Wofford, I guess, and it's a good look. So I'm not against it, I'll say that, and I've got to make sure I talk to the higher-ups and Under Armour and all that as well. But the throwbacks ended up being something that may need to be more than a throwback. Who knows?
Well, if we have like a Watergate type thing here, we can just break in, get rid of all the other uniforms, and you'd be forced to wear those. So we could pull that.
Good thing we're not on air right now, so our plan isn't gone public. Yes,
right.
No one heard this.
And then lastly, I know you're very busy all the time. A, how's the golf game? B, what's on like Shane Beamer's video playlist, movies, TV shows, streaming service shows these days? What in the limited amount of free time that you have, what's going on golf wise first?
Ooh. Good question. Golf-wise, very little other than just having the Golf Channel on in my office currently as I do this interview, watching Jordan Spieth get interviewed. So that's about the extent of it right now. I did get out a little bit more in January than in years past. Just the recruiting calendar made that a little bit more conducive. So I played a little bit in January and hit it decent, and haven't touched I think I've maybe played one time in February. So golf game's not where it needs to be. What I'm watching, not much other than sporting events. So when I get home at night, usually my son and my family and I were watching, whoever is on TV playing basketball, and Gamecock athletics and things like that as well. But speaking of golf, I did see that the Netflix was it Full Swing with the PGA Tour. I did see that new season was released today. So I've got some plane trips coming up over the next week or so that I'll be watching, download those and watch them on a plane. So I will be watching that and get me ready for the SEC football version of our Netflix special that'll be released this summer as well, which is going to be really, really cool when that comes out.
Yeah, we'll bug you to come join us one day over at Pro Swing. I'm telling you, you're going to love this place, Shane.
I remember you telling me how good it was.
It's cool,
so I do need to get over there and check that out. I've heard great things about it.
It's sick. It's like the retro uniforms.
That's right.
Sick.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, we appreciate you as always. Best to everybody. I hope you all are doing well. We'll check in with you real soon. Always appreciate the time.
No, always appreciate you asking me. Thanks for all you do, and go Gamecocks. Have a great week.
Appreciate you. All right, that's Coach Shane Beamer.